We did it. We made it to 100 subscribers. Let's celebrate. I know what some of you might be thinking, why on earth am I celebrating just 100 subscribers when in the grand scheme of things, especially as far as YouTube's concerned, it doesn't really achieve anything, it doesn't unlock monetization or anything like that. But there's two reasons for that. First being, I believe in celebrating the small victories, and secondly, it's actually taken me 3 years to get to this point, and I've had to overcome camera shyness, so it's actually quite a big deal when you look at it from that point of view. So before we get into the questions, let's get into some artwork. When I initially planned this video, I was just going to work on my colouring pages and colouring books that I've got, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, you know what, I need to do some artwork for this, make it a proper celebration, and here we are. I also decided that I'd include both pre-existing characters and some new characters just to really sort of bring everything together, sort of the new and the old, although not that old for some of them. And I'm really glad that I did. It's been a lot of fun to create this piece, and I wanted to do not just different characters, but sort of as in old and new, but also different creatures, not all the same, because in my mock-up sketch I ended up with 3 canine-esque characters, and I decided that was too much and wanted to have some more variety. This guy, he was a pain because I could not find a pose reference anywhere near this particular pose that I've gone for, having him sat in the 0. I had to wing it, and he's come out okay. He's not horrendous. Could be better, could be worse. And I'm fine with that. So, yeah. As I get into this, you'll recognise a couple of these characters, and I'll talk more about the new ones in the next section.
We were sparks on quiet streets, 2 hearts finding where to meet, but life pulled us apart, left me talking to the dark. If I called you tonight, would it feel the same? Or have we both moved on to different names? Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars, when the world felt small and your hands felt warm. Take me back to the start, if only for a moment. I've been up since 3, scrolling back where we used to be, half truths in this late night chat, both of us knowing what a life at. Funny how we talk like we're fine, but your name still lives in my rhyme. Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars. Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the...
You guys really came through with the questions, and none of them really have short answers. I tried doing shorter answers, didn't really work, so here we go. First one comes from Power Fatties, and they ask, why did you start to create content? Now, this actually goes back a little way, where me and my sister used to create a lot of stuff, and we'd go to craft fairs and things to sell the things we made, and I love doing that together. We did very different creative things. She did more sort of crochet, knitting, that kind of thing, and I've always done sort of drawing and sculpting. But, it's always been a lot of fun with, just doing stuff together, even though it was different. But as we've sort of grown up and got married and family dynamics have changed, and, we actually live quite a distance apart, things kind of dropped off, and I was still writing, I was still drawing, but not doing as much as I used to. And then back in 2020, I was a carer before the world went sideways. And I was just having an off day, and a friend in a Discord server I was in linked me Mariah Elizabeth's most recent squishy makeover video, and I was hooked. I'd never really at that point seen what was on YouTube. I'd used it for like movie trailers, TV show trailers, music videos, maybe the odd tutorial, but really not much at all. And yeah, finding out what was actually there was kind of mind-blowing in a way, you know, just this whole other side to it. And I love the creative community. I found a lot of channels very quickly, and part of me thought I could do this while secretly screaming inside, no you can't, because as I mentioned, I've grown up being camera shy. So from there I did kind of think about doing a blog, because, you know, when I was doing this stuff with my sister, we did do the social media side of things, mostly Facebook, because at the time that's really all that was there. So I had some experience doing it, but with the blog, I couldn't keep to the consistency of it, you know. I mean, I think part of it is that blogs, you have to be discovered in a very different way. You know, YouTube is a platform that already exists. There's people already on the site looking for things, so it's a little easier to grow there than a blog that's just sprung up out of nowhere kind of thing. And yeah, I didn't enjoy it really. I tried, you know, I had specific projects in mind. I wanted to get back into crafting, not just drawing and writing. And I tried blogs before with my writing and a couple of other things, I think, but again, just didn't stick with it. And I know that sounds odd, because obviously with YouTube you have to be consistent, but I've found that a lot easier. And I think, like I say, because it's more enjoyable, there's more of a connection there as well, you know, actually talking to your audience, you know, you're not just typing random stuff and it feels less like strangers kind of thing. So, you know, that's helped. Obviously there have been gaps where I've had issues with my editing software and other such things. You know, this is my 4th YouTube name. Still all the same channel, and all the original videos are still there. The only ones I've actually hidden are the Pokemon ones, because I just decided at this point not to do the Pokemon card opening videos. I may bring it back later, but right now, yeah, I didn't want to do that. I just stick to the creativity. And I've changed them for different reasons. You know, originally I was Bear Scribbles, which the more I thought about it, the less I liked the name. And especially when I've been watching Aussie Crafter for a while, sort of before the Sarah Renee Clark video, which if you haven't seen that, I'll link it below. I will try and remember to link everything below that I mentioned. Yeah, she did a Q&A, and when she read out my username, it didn't sit right. So then I changed it to Teddy Crafter, and that was because I'd wanted to focus more on plushie making, plushie customization and restoration and all that, and also sort of bears in my artwork. But yeah, like I mentioned in my first Create This Book video, I don't like putting myself in a box, and I'd done just that. So yeah, that had to go. I then went to the Creative Nook, which was better. It sounded a bit more professional and more sort of inclusive of everything that I want to do on the channel, but it was too generic for my liking, and I don't like doing things the same as everyone else. You know, I wore a black wedding dress. No, it wasn't goth. I will try and find an image to flick up and show you. But Jay's asked to stay out of videos, which I fully respect that. So if I can find a photo of me on my own, I will flick that up. And yeah, it's just too generic. And but at the same time, I was kind of thinking, you know, what would I call my audience? I know technically being this small, I don't need to worry about that, but I really like that, like, Nerdy Crafter has Grains of Salt, Froggy Crossing has Froggy Army, and there's a few others that have names for their audience, and I just really like that. It helps sort of with the feeling of community that I love. And I was thinking, you know, what would I call my audience? And that's where Nooklings came from. And almost as soon as I thought of Nooklings, I thought of the creatures that I have created, and that's when it then changed to Nookling Corner, and I'm really happy with it. It won't be changing again. It feels more unique, and more, yeah, just more like me, which is the main thing. Yeah, so that's where it all began, really.
We were sparks on quiet streets, two hearts finding where to meet. But life pulled us apart, left me talking to the dark. If I called you tonight, would it feel the same? Or have we both moved on to different names? Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars. When the world felt small and your hands felt warm. Take me back to the start, if only for a moment. I've been up since 3, scrolling back where we used to be. Half truths in this late night chat, both of us knowing what a lie that. Funny how we talk like we're fine, but your name still lives in my rhyme. Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars. Take me back to the start, before the quiet and the scars. When the world felt small and your hands felt warm.
So up next we have Emma Naseby Art. Now, Emma's actually got 4 questions for me, and when I first made mention that I was going to do this Q&A for the 100 subscribers, a little bit of time went past because I had all this editing issue, so yeah, it took me a bit to get there. So I did make note of the questions from that original video, and Emma asked, what is your favourite thing that you have created on the channel? Now, I did think this was going to be a tricky question because there are quite a few things I'm really proud of and happy with the results, like Mary, my reindeer meerkat hybrids, which again, I'll link his video down below. But I think the more I thought about it, the more I kind of went, it's got to be the Nooklings. I love how colourful they are, how playful they are. Sort of, I know I've not really shown a huge amount of their personalities, but I'm going to be doing that and expanding the universe. And I love how dynamic they are and the fact that they are designed to help creatives, and I just love that about them. Yeah, I can't wait to share more about them. You know, we've got 3 versions already. We've got the forest version, which is the originals, the Arctic version, or the Thestian Nooklings, and the aquatic version. There are 3 more that I have already designed and recorded. I've just got to actually put the videos together. The first one should be out in a couple of weeks, I think. I haven't sort of fully decided the order of my videos, but probably a couple of weeks, because I haven't done the landscape artwork for that video. Whether or not I will, because I've been doing the paintings kind of separately, but I use sort of in the Thessian Nooklings, obviously I use the landscape in the intro, but for the aquatics I only used it in the thumbnail. So what I do with this one, I don't know yet. I haven't decided. And I think part of that will depend on when I actually release the video. But I've also decided to shift the Nooklings to regular Sunday art videos. 2 reasons. One, as I say, there's 3 more to go. I think it was 3. fairly sure it's 3 more to go. So, you know, I don't want to do back-to-back in the World Building Wednesday videos. And I also want to do something else for the World Building Wednesdays. It's probably going to be a couple of months before I start on those videos again. I have this one project that I keep putting off. I need to stop putting it off. I'll touch a bit more onto that probably when that video releases. Yeah, so that's that one. Second question is, what's the biggest thing you have learned on this journey? I think that's overcoming the camera shyness, you know. Like I said, it's taken me 3 years. If you go back, watch my first video, it's not a good one to watch. I mean, I've left it up more for me than anything. Maybe I'll unlist it at some point, I don't know, but just to see how far I've come. You know, I'm still learning, still getting comfortable talking on camera, and also being myself. You know, there are bits that you don't see so much, like particularly in the vlogs, when I've got music on, especially if I've got my headphones on, I will dance. Now, you can't really call it dancing, but it's just what I do, and normally I'd cut it out, but in this next vlog that you will see, I've deliberately left it in because I do it almost every day, so cutting it out seems a bit silly, you know. But yeah, it's being comfortable with who I am. You know, I'm 41 and I still collect plushies and I don't care, you know. And my art skill, you might think, isn't the best for my age, but when you take into account that I've actually only been consistently drawing for about 16 years, I think I'm doing okay, you know. And I think that's something else that I want to share is, you know, your art journey is different depending on who you are, where you started. You know, I didn't go to art school, I didn't even do art at GCSE. I stopped about year 9, so I would have been about 14, because for GCSE you had to do a self-portrait, and that was going to be a huge chunk of your sort of final results, your final grade, and I can't stand doing self-portraits, you know, and a lot of art at school was self-portraits or still life, two things that I hate. If we'd have done more animals, I'd have been fine with that, but, you know, we didn't, so it did put me off doing it, which is a shame, you know. It doesn't really allow for creative freedom, which is kind of sad, but, you know, that's school for you. So yeah, there's a lot of learning, and I'm learning every day, learning new techniques, how to improve, things like that, and I love all of that. It's all part of it. Third question from Emma: what message would you send to your future self? Now this is probably the hardest question, because what do you say to your future self? You know, you did it, you stuck through it. Don't forget where you came from, don't forget the friends you made along the way, and don't change. To me, that's a pretty big one. You know, you see these huge YouTube channels, some of them, that have just completely changed from where they started. Obviously not all of them. We know Mariah's still basically the same. And, you know, I've talked about having an editor, but if I had sort of the budget and the means to do one of these huge production style videos, I don't think I'd do it, because I want to stay true to me, and that wouldn't be me, you know. So yeah, just keep going the way you're going. That's the main thing, I think. Shorter answer to that one. And final one from Emma is, I've got them all written down, that's why I keep looking over. As we all inevitably have tough days as artists, what keeps you moving forward and pursuing your dreams? This one has more than one answer. The first one, and I think one of the biggest things I've learnt recently, is to just give yourself grace. So if you're having a bad day, sort of, you know, you're struggling mentally or something, just say it's okay. You don't have to do anything. And I actually find I'm more likely to get things done. It might not be as much as I wanted to do, but it's something. Whereas if I'm like, you have to do this and you have to do it now, I'm more likely to sit, not necessarily doom scrolling, but certainly not doing anything productive, you know, waiting for messages from friends that aren't actually going to come because A, time zones, and B, I've not necessarily messaged anyone. You know, it's random stuff like that I do, or try and find an image, a reference image. Sorry, brain went for a second then. But without really knowing what I want to draw or what I want to create, that kind of thing. So yeah, just being able to say that, it has been a big help. Also, you know, I'm a Christian, have been for a very long time, and recently I've been working to finding my path, or where I'm supposed to go with my creativity. And, you know, knowing that I'm not supposed to be doing retail for the rest of my life has been a big sort of sigh of relief, because, you know, I've spent a lot of time being told I can't, whether that's been, you know, you need a real job kind of thing, or, you know, you procrastinate too much and all the rest of it. That those kinds of things do not help, you know, and I do procrastinate and probably do it more than I should do for doing this sort of art stuff. You know, I've already mentioned the project I've got that I want to do that I just keep putting off. Part of it, I know, is down to the fact that it needs to be on the messy desk. I've already got a couple of projects on the go on the messy desk, but I also know I can sit down, like with the 1000 video, I can sit down and I can actually get the work done. But this last week, with the heat wave we've had here in the UK, yeah, it's not been practical to do any work up here. It's just been way too hot. So, you know, I've done bits here and there. Like, I've been trying to record these question and answer segments. I've lost count of how many times I've actually done them, and through various different reasons I've had to redo them. Mostly it's been down to I've had the fan on and managed to angle the fan in such a way that it's sort of blowing into the microphone, so that's not helped. But I think we're finally there this time. But the other thing is watching other YouTubers, seeing them grow. You know, I've seen quite a few channels go past 1,000 subscribers and further, like Aussie Crafter, Emma herself, Sin City Yeti, and there's been a few others as well. And yeah, just watching everyone grow and follow their passions, and also those who are building businesses from their channels, like Cassie Projects and Bailey J and Catnip. There's quite a few others. Just knowing that it's possible to do it, even though I'm not necessarily there yet. Obviously, I've been working towards it. If you didn't spot Pal on my t-shirt earlier, I mean, this is just a mock-up, and this has obviously all come from my redundancy that was supposed to happen that didn't happen, which there are videos about that. But yeah, I've still been working on those things in the background. There's still some more stuff I want to do for that before I release anything. And I don't think you have to have a massive following at all. I mean, Cassie's shown that completely. You know, a lot of people are surprised by how small her numbers are, yet she's got this really successful art business, and her artwork is just, you know, it's so cute. And it's not about massive followings, it's about having loyal fans, which is two completely different things. And I love that, you know. So yeah, that sort of all helps. And, you know, I love the idea that maybe one day we'll all get to meet up and create something together. You know, I'd love to meet Emma and Yeti and quite a few others that I've made friends with along the way. It would be great to do that one day, maybe. We'll see. Obviously, different countries and things can be an issue, but just see where things go. That's all you can do. So before we get on to the final questions, let's do a bit more of this artwork. And it's time for some colour. So starting with the Nookling, which had to be Pal, you know, mascot for the channel. Just, you know, it couldn't be any of the others really. And this is a new sketch pad that I've not used before. I'd hoped it was going to be okay, but to be honest, with the pencils, I didn't like the way they felt on the paper. And I used both types of pencils in the end, and neither of them felt nice on this paper. So, I mean, it says for paint, and even that, because I used my acrylic markers, because I decided I wanted to make this a mixed media piece, because I thought that would be fun. Yeah, and even those weren't that great on it, so I don't really know what it's actually designed for, but yeah, I didn't have a lot of fun with it, but obviously I will still continue to use it and hopefully find something that works a bit better. Maybe acrylic paints themselves, maybe watercolours, which I'm not sure where I've put my watercolour paints actually. I should probably dig those out, because I've not used them for a little while and it's about time I did. So yeah, hopefully something will work on this better than these pencils. They're just, yeah, does not look great, which is a shame. But marker pens, alcohol markers, not so bad. This is Scout, which, yeah, I had to do Scout again. I know I only just did him a couple of videos ago, but he's very quickly becoming one of my favourite characters. So yeah, couldn't help adding him into this. And like I say, this pose was awkward, but still glad I tried, because that's the main thing that, you know, as I've been mentioning, I'm learning as I go, and this is one of the ways you learn, is by trying, even if it doesn't necessarily go the way you want it to. But you know, he's pretty good. This is the first of our new characters. This is Maddie. Jay named her, and she is a Tibetan Mastiff puppy. Yeah, just they're so cute and fluffy. I couldn't not include one. Her colours haven't turned out perfectly. I think I need to lighten sort of the face colouring, because they do come in grey, and I could have done red, but then I think there would have been too much red on the page. Plus, the red ones tend to be just red and kind of, you know, boring. Not boring, but you know what I'm saying. It's just a solid colour, and the other most common coloration is black and tan, but you know, you got Rottweilers and Dobermans and all that are black and tan. I just wanted something a bit different. And of course, adding Ember, who was created in the shrink plastic keyring video. Yeah, Ember's just so cute, and at some point I will draw her awake, but so far she's just been sleeping. But you see with the brown there of the acrylic markers, it looks so weird. I don't know why it did that. You know, the orange seemed to be okay, but for whatever reason. And this guy, this is an interesting character. Okay, this is Harris, and I created Harris because, as I mentioned, I don't like drawing birds. They are not my favourite thing to draw, and they don't always come out great when I draw them. So Harris is here to help me with that. And you might be wondering, why has he got a helmet on? Well, Jay has often said that sparrows are like little Spitfires. So he is wearing a Spitfire helmet, or a World War II pilot helmet. I just thought it was funny, you know. And yeah, it makes him look cute, I think, personally. And at some point I will sculpt him, because I think that's going to look so cute. But yeah, they are, because he just, you know, there's a bush we walk past that's outside a shop, and it's quite a big bush, and it's always full of sparrows, and you can always hear them chatting away to each other, even if you can't see them, and then just all of a sudden they'll all shoot out of the bush as you walk past. So yeah, I totally get why he calls them little Spitfires. And he was fun to colour, like I said, despite the fact that the pencils didn't seem to do too well on this paper. I did enjoy colouring him and just sort of playing with the colour variations and things, and sort of blending colours as best as I could. I've not done much in the way of blending with coloured pencils. Mostly it's been layering. But yeah, really happy with how he turned out. And the final character, who we shall get to in a second, there we go, I decided to do in papercraft because, as I said, I wanted this to be a mixed media piece, and I think that was just, yeah, really appropriate for the different styles of artwork I do. And this is Jericho, and he is a lion. And the reason I chose Jericho, because I've been working on this course that's been helping me sort of determine where I want to go with my creativity, especially as a Christian, as I mentioned. And for some reason, I never planned this whilst doing, because you do artwork as you go. It's not to sort of improve your artwork, it's just to, like I say, find where you want to go with your creative journey. And for all 3 pieces that I've done so far, well, one of them's a work in progress, but that's by the by, but they've all been lions. And yeah, I just found that lions have become quite important to me from an art point of view, so I had to include Jericho. Now, unfortunately, I didn't sketch him initially, so I didn't figure out how big he needed to be, and I end up making him way too big, and I have to cut everything down, which is a shame because I did love how he was looking, and I didn't mess him up. He does look a little odd, and it's just because of the way he's been done, but I'm still really happy with how he looks overall. But let's put some music on. I think you've heard enough of my voice for this video.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Flashing red lights, driving at night, windowless ride, feeling alive. Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we'll make it this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight. Oh yeah, we'll make it tonight. Yeah. I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH, country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? Or just breathing? I'm in a race that everybody's chasing fast. They wanna be that someone on the screen at last. They ain't looking inside for their needs in life. They wanna be liked by everybody in sight. But trust me, being free ain't spotlights. No, it's long nights and it's long fights with yourself all the time to get your mind right. But if you put in the work, you can find the light, alright? I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford.
So the final 2 questions are from Sin City Yeti, and the first one is, what are your art goals for the next year? So I think the main one is expanding the Knuckling universe, as I've touched on. You know, I've also had this sort of thought in the back of my mind, sort of, and this ties into a few of the other questions. Back in 2008, when Boofle first was seen in shops, if you don't know Boofle, I'll flick up an image, and it just got me thinking that I'd love to have a character like that, you know, you see in plushies, keychains, birthday cards, whatever, and just have a standout character. And I didn't know what that would look like at the time. It was just one of these thoughts, and I did sort of forget about it, but last couple of years or so I've been thinking about it again, and I feel like the Nooklings are going to be it. And I'm really excited just to take them further and continue to share the universe with you guys. There's a lot of fun stuff coming, not just the different types of Nooklings. I'm going to be doing some 3D art of them. There's one project in particular that I've not done anything like this before. It's mixed media, and I've used both. Is it just two? Yeah, I think it's just two medias. I've used them both independently but never together, and that's going to be really interesting to do. I have been watching a channel to sort of help with tips and tricks and things, and I'm really excited for that one. I also need to go through my supplies to make sure I've actually got everything I need for that project. But again, I need to finish the couple of projects I've got on my messy desk first before I can execute that one. But also, another thing I really want to do is improve my artwork. You know, as I mentioned, because I've not been drawing for that long, my skill level's a bit behind, maybe, depending on how you look at it. But there are things I don't like drawing. You know, birds are one of them. That's why I chose Harris for this piece, so that if I've got a bird character and I'm more likely to draw birds, it gives me that motivation to sort of draw them and try and improve. So birds and horses are the two main animals. I haven't actually got a horse character at the moment. I've got, where's she gone? Nova. She was one of my feisty pet makeovers, which I'll link her video, but I haven't actually sort of drawn her or anything. She's just kind of been there. So whether or not I use her or create another I might create another character, because I do love draft horses. So that's your Shires and your Clydesdales in particular. Love Clydesdales. They're my favourite breed. So I might do that. But my biggest challenge, again, as I mentioned with the self-portraits, is people. I really don't like drawing people. However, because I love doing the artwork connected to my books, I have a lot of human characters that I haven't drawn because I don't like drawing people. Now I've already got one thing to help with that. Hopefully we'll be starting on that video this week. Now that the heat wave seems to have passed, it's a lot cooler today, which is nice. I feel like you can breathe and get things done. But I've got one more prompt to do for a prompt book video I'm working on, so I need to do that first. I'm sorry about the seagulls, they're just really noisy today. They are nesting on the roof, not a lot I can do about it. Yeah, so there's that, and I've got one thing on pre-order that I'm hoping will also help. So hopefully between the two things, it'll give me that motivation I need to improve my artwork and improve drawing people. So yeah, I think that's sort of the main two, and just, yeah, continuing what I'm doing, you know, prompt books. And there's some stuff I haven't done in a long time, like working with plushies. I want to do that again. Got some customizations I need to do. I've got a big list of stuff to get done. So you just have to stick around and see. I think whilst they're being noisy, we'll just have some water. Hopefully they'll calm down. Anyway, so question number 2 from Yeti is, do you plan on entering any more art contests? Short answer, probably not. Basically, for those who didn't see last week's video, the 1000 art contest video, the only reason I entered that one is because I have been following 1000 for a couple of years now, I think. I don't actively go looking for competitions. It's just something I don't do. I don't know what, it's just one of those, you know. I've never really thought about it much. So over the years I've entered 3 or 4 maybe. One was a writing one that kind of doesn't count because it was more sort of names in a hat, and technically I won that one, but does it really count as winning if it's just names in a hat? I think I talked about that in my first writing video where I talked about my writing. I can't remember. So there's that. Then there was one, I didn't strictly enter it. Basically, there was this art, I think it was an art lesson, art session, and now I'm going back 10-ish years, and I can't remember how I found out about this thing. And I showed up, and I was the only one that did show up, which was really sad, but you know, the teacher was lovely, and we still did the lesson. And it was to create a piece to be entered into this competition, which I didn't know that. And I got the majority of the artwork done in the session we had, but there were some finishing touches I wanted to do at home. However, I get too attached to my artwork. That's why I will probably never sell finished pieces, because I put too much of me into them. I think that's what it is. And there's often stories behind what I create. Not so much with this one, but in particular, this was a robin, and as I've already mentioned, birds are not something I'm particularly good at. However, this one came out really well, and because I had to send off the physical piece, I was worried about it getting lost or damaged. I couldn't bring myself to enter it. I think I've still got that piece kicking about, so I will insert a photo if I can find it. It's also in a style I've not done on the channel yet, which I do want to do. I've been thinking about it for a few months. I just haven't sort of picked the right character for it. I may create a new character for it. I don't know. I haven't decided. We'll get there when we get there. And you know, there's been the odd. There was a writing competition on DeviantArt I entered. That was pretty good. I didn't place, but I got some really good feedback, which is always good. You know, with DeviantArt, most of what I've put on there has been stuff connected to my stories. So yeah, that's sort of where that's all come from. So yeah, I think unless people I watch host competitions, I probably won't actually enter anything else. But you know, I know 1000 does it every so often. I think that's how I found him first time around. I didn't enter the competition because it had already finished at that point, but I'm fairly sure that's how I found him in the first place. But I forget and I digress. So yeah, I think that covers everything. So let's get this piece of artwork finished, shall we? Starting this piece, I hadn't given the background much thought. I was probably just gonna leave it white, but then I thought I can't leave it white. It looks boring, basically. So I decided to add black and add some fireworks in the background. And for the fireworks, what I end up doing is just using my white acrylic pen and then going over that with brighter colours to try and help make them stand out a bit more. Whether it worked or not, it kind of did. Oh look, I'm doing things off camera again because I forgot I moved the page up. That's about standard at this point. But yeah, overall I'm really happy with how this has turned out. So the artwork is all done and I'm really happy with how this turned out. You know, like I said, the background's pretty simple and I had no plans going into it, but I'm happy with what I did. Yeah, and I love that obviously the characters are all done in different medias, which just adds a fun element to it. Yeah, something a bit different. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for all your questions. Remember to stay uniquely you, and I'll catch you Nooklings next time.